All right, let's dive right in, shall we? Today we're tackling two South African giants, Johannesburg and Cape Town. And wow, you guys really threw us a curveball with the sources this time.
Yeah, YouTube videos, articles, Reddit, even TikTok. You name it, we got it.
And it sounds like you're thinking about maybe possibly making a move to one of these cities.
Big decisions.
So we're going to break it all down, give you the real deal on what it's like to live in each city, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Absolutely. And, it's pretty clear from these sources that both cities have some passionate fans, lots of strong opinions out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like some people seem to have this, I don't know, almost like a preconceived notion of what each city's like. Then they actually visit, and it's totally different.
Right, there's this YouTube video where they're in Johannesburg and they're just floored by how green it is. They were expecting, like, I don't know, a concrete jungle or something.
And then they get to Cape Town, and it's all about the mountains and the ocean and this incredible beauty. Totally different vibes.
Yeah. And the sources really play that up, don't they? Johannesburg is all unapologetically African, contagious ambition, that kind of thing.
Whereas Cape Town is more chill, more about nature, you know?
Like a retreat, almost.
But both cities also have that shadow hanging over them from the past, you know?
Apartheid, segregation, that whole dark history. You can't really talk about South Africa without acknowledging that, right?
For sure. And speaking of dark histories, one thing that popped up in a Reddit thread was this whole concept of two cities within each city. Like in Cape Town, you've got Camps Bay, which is all beaches and fancy houses and champagne wishes.
But then a stone's throw away, you have the Cape Flats, which is dealing with poverty and a whole different set of realities.
Exactly. And that brings up something that seems super important to you based on your sources, safety.
Yeah, big time. And, there's this perception that Cape Town is safer, but when you dig into the stats, it's a lot more complicated.
Really? How so?
Well, a bunch of the sources, including some actual crime reports, show that Cape Town has a higher murder rate overall than Johannesburg.
Wow. That's not what I expected.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. And it all goes back to that two cities thing. If you take the Cape Flats out of the equation, the numbers probably look way different.
I see. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison.
Right. And there's this article from Two Oceans Vibe, I think, that calls Cape Town's reputation for safety an illusion.
Because of that disparity.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, certain parts might be super safe, but it's not the whole story,
Makes you think. And Johannesburg has that two cities thing going on too. You've got Sandton, which is like a fortress of wealth.
And then you have the CBD, which is struggling with crime and kind of falling apart.
So it sounds like you can't just look at overall crime stats for either city. You got to zoom in on specific neighborhoods and talk to people who actually live there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, the Reddit threads were full of these crazy stories about carjackings and home invasions in Johannesburg. It's scary stuff.
It makes you nervous just thinking about it.
But then you also have people saying they feel perfectly safe in Sandton. It's like two parallel universes.
So safety is obviously a huge factor, but you were also curious about the lifestyle, the things that make each city unique, right? The fun stuff.
Totally. And, there's a clear difference in the activities that are highlighted in your sources. Like for Cape Town, it's all about the outdoors and that natural beauty. Hiking Table Mountain, exploring the coastline, seeing penguins.
Sounds amazing.
It is. And then there's this scenic drive, Chapman's Peak.
Oh, I've heard of that. Supposed to be breathtaking?
Definitely a bucket list item. And of course, you can't forget about the wine country. Lots of vineyards to explore, wine tastings, all that good stuff.
So it sounds like Cape Town would be heaven for nature lovers. What about Johannesburg? What kind of entertainment does it offer?
Well, Johannesburg has more of an urban feel, It's all about the arts and culture there. Lots of sources mention this place called the Neighbor Goods Market.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
People rave about the food, the crafts, the music. Sounds like a really cool place to experience the local scene.
Definitely.
And then there are the museums, like the Wits Art Museum.
Yeah.
And historical sites like the Apartheid Museum, places where you can really learn about the city and its past.
So we talked about how different areas within a city can have totally different vibes when it comes to safety. I'm curious to explore that a bit more. What about specific neighborhoods in Cape Town? I imagine Camps Bay is pretty exclusive, but are there other areas that people are drawn to?
Yeah, Camps Bay definitely has that reputation, luxury and all that. But there's also the City Bowl, which is right in the heart of Cape Town.
Okay.
It seems like a pretty diverse crowd lives there. Young professionals, families, artists, Lots of energy.
And I think I saw something about Woodstock and Observatory on one of those coolest neighborhoods lists. What makes them stand out?
Ah, yeah. Woodstock used to be more industrial, but it's become super trendy in recent
I
years.
see.
Art galleries, design studios, cool cafes. It's got that edgy, up-and-coming vibe. Gotcha. What about Observatory?
Observatory.
No.
Or OBS, as the locals call it. It's more bohemian, more laid back,
Okay.
known for its live music venues, quirky shops, that kind of thing.
It sounds like there's a neighborhood for everyone in Cape Town. What about Johannesburg? Any recommendations besides Sandton?
Let me think. If you're looking for a more relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere, maybe check out Parkhurst or Melville.
Okay.
They've got that villagey feel, tree-lined streets, nice cafes.
I'm always on the lookout for those hidden gems, those neighborhoods that are maybe a bit under the radar but still offer a great quality of life. Any places like that in Johannesburg?
Oh, for sure. Some sources mention Greenside and Northcliffe.
I'll have to look those up.
They're popular with young families and people just starting out because they're relatively affordable and safe. It's amazing how each neighborhood can have its own distinct personality, almost like a mini city within a city. Makes you realize that choosing the right neighborhood could be just as important as choosing the right city. But, at the end of the day, you can't ignore the practicalities.
What about the cost of living in these two cities? Cape Town has a reputation for being expensive, but is that always true?
Well, it's true that Cape Town is generally pricier, but it's not quite that simple. Both cities have a wide range of housing options, from budget-friendly apartments to those luxury villas with ocean views we talked about earlier.
Right, right.
The price really depends on the location, size, amenities, all that.
So if you want to live in a swanky neighborhood like Camps Bay,
Hmm.
you're going to pay a premium, but if you're willing to live further out or in a less trendy area, you might find something more affordable. What about Johannesburg? Is it significantly cheaper?
Yeah, Johannesburg tends to be more affordable, especially when it comes to housing. You can find some pretty good deals in areas like Greenside and Northcliffe, especially compared to similar neighborhoods in Cape Town. Interesting.
But, the cost of living isn't just about housing.
Right, there's groceries, transportation, utilities, all that stuff adds up. Did the sources mention any big differences in those areas?
It seems like those everyday expenses are pretty comparable in both cities. Groceries, utilities, transportation, they're all in the same ballpark.
Okay.
However, there are a couple of areas where you might notice a difference.
Oh, like what?
Well, some people mention that eating out in Cape Town can be more expensive, especially if you're going to those fancy restaurants with the amazing views.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're paying for the experience as much as the food. But if you're on a budget, both cities have plenty of cheaper options, right?
Definitely. Cape Town has a really vibrant street food scene. You can find some amazing deals on local specialties like bunny chow.
Bunny chow.
Yeah, it's this delicious curry served in a hollowed-out loaf of bread. Oh, and then there are Coke Sisters.
Milky Sisters, what are those?
They're these sticky, syrup-soaked pastries. Super sweet and addictive.
Sounds amazing. I'll have to try those if I ever make it to Cape Town. What about Johannesburg? Any must-try local foods there?
Oh, absolutely. You can't go to Johannesburg without trying a coda.
Okota.
It's like this massive sandwich filled with everything you can imagine. Fries, cheese, meats, sauces. It's a meal in itself.
Wow.
And then, of course, there's the braai culture.
The what?
Braai. It's basically South Africa's version of a barbecue. Grilling meat over an open fire, hanging out with friends, good food, good times.
Okay, now I'm officially starving. But before we get too carried away with food fantasies, let's get back to the economic side of things. We talked about Johannesburg being the economic powerhouse, but some sources suggested that Cape Town is catching up. How significant is that?
It's definitely something to consider, especially if you're thinking about long-term career prospects. Cape Town's economy is growing really fast, particularly in areas like tech and tourism.
So it's not just about where the jobs are right now, but about where the growth is happening, where the potential is for the future. Cape Town's natural beauty plus its booming economy might give it a real edge for some people.
Exactly. It's a city that's on the move, and that can be really attractive, especially for people who want to be part of something dynamic and forward-thinking.
So we've covered a lot: neighborhoods, cost of living, all that practical stuff. But I'm also curious about the overall vibe of each city. The feeling you get when you're walking down the street, the energy of the people, the pace of life. What did the sources have to say about that?
That's a great question. And it seems like there's a definite contrast in energy between the two cities. Cape Town is often described as having this relaxed, laid-back atmosphere.
Yeah, I can see that.
Outdoor living, connecting with nature, enjoying a slower pace of life.
Like surfing in the morning, hiking Table Mountain in the afternoon, then having a leisurely dinner with friends as the sun sets over the ocean.
Exactly. It's idyllic. And it's not just the activities, it's the mentality. People seem to be more focused on work-life balance,
Hmm.
you know, enjoying the simple things, creating life that's fulfilling both personally and professionally.
I can definitely see the appeal in that. Johannesburg, on the other hand, seems to have this more fast-paced, driven energy. It's all about ambition, innovation, making things happen.
Yeah, Johannesburg never sleeps. It's that contagious ambition we talked about earlier. People are hungry for success. They're constantly pushing boundaries, taking risks.
There's a real sense of possibility in the air.
Exactly. Now, of course, these are just generalizations. Both cities have a diverse mix of people, and you'll find pockets of tranquility in Johannesburg and bursts of energy in Cape Town.
Of course, of course. It's all about finding the right fit for your own personality and lifestyle.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole exploration so interesting. There's no right or wrong answer. It's about discovering what resonates with you and what aligns with your own vision of a good life.
Well, I'm feeling pretty energized after all this. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's always more to discover. What can we look forward to in part 3 of our deep dive?
In part 3, we'll delve into some of the lesser-known aspects of each city. We'll explore the cultural scene, uncover some hidden gems, and maybe even indulge in a bit of speculation about what the future holds for these two captivating metropolises.
So we've talked safety, neighborhoods, cost of living, even the overall vibe. Now, I'm really curious about those hidden gems you mentioned. What kind of unique cultural experiences did you find in the sources?
Well, one that jumped out at me was the Wits Art Museum in Johannesburg. A few sources mentioned it, praising the collection, which sounds super diverse, from traditional African art to more contemporary stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Even in a bustling city like Johannesburg, you can still find those pockets of art and culture. What about Cape Town? Any museums or cultural sites there that stood out?
Oh yeah, definitely. The District 6 Museum came up a few times. It tells the story of those forced removals during apartheid, and it sounds like a pretty powerful experience.
Yeah, it's those kinds of places that really give you a sense of a city's soul, a deeper understanding of its history. But it's not all museums and history, right? What about the music scene? I know South Africa has such a rich musical heritage. What kind of live music did you find in these cities?
Well, it seems like Johannesburg is the place to be if you're into jazz. It's got those legendary jazz clubs, and then there's the whole Amapiano scene, which is this electronic dance music that originated in South Africa.
So Johannesburg's got that raw, energetic music vibe going on. Makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And Cape Town has more of an eclectic scene, you know. You'll find
Mhm.
everything from indie bands to traditional Cape Malay music, and you'll definitely hear those acoustic guitars strumming in cafes all over the city.
Right, right. Like a soundtrack to those ocean views. We talked about the neighbor goods market in Johannesburg earlier.
Hmm.
Any other markets or events in either city that you think would be worth checking out?
Oh, for sure. Cape Town has the Milnerton Market, which sounds like a similar vibe to neighbor goods, local food, crafts, all that.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, gotta ask. Did any of the sources reveal any truly offbeat or unexpected attractions? Those hidden gems that most tourists wouldn't even know about?
Actually, yeah. One article mentioned that Johannesburg has the largest man-made forest in the world. Isn't that wild?
Whoa, hold on. A forest in the middle of Johannesburg.
Yep. Apparently it's a thing. Just shows you how much diversity and hidden beauty you can find if you look beyond the surface.
Wow, I'm adding that to my list. What about Cape Town? Any equally surprising finds there?
Well, if you're a nature lover, you can't miss Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden. It's right at the foot of Table Mountain and apparently has these stunning displays of indigenous plants and flowers.
Okay, sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So both cities offer this amazing mix of urban excitement and natural beauty. You get the best of both worlds, really. But, we've talked about the present. I'm also curious about the future. What do you think the next chapter holds for Johannesburg and Cape Town?
Interesting question. You know, we talked about all those Johannesburg residents who head to Cape Town's beaches every December.
Right.
I think that says a lot about the enduring appeal of Cape Town's natural beauty and that more relaxed lifestyle, even for people who live in a fast-paced city like Johannesburg.
I see what you mean. So it's like there's this constant exchange between the two, this flow of people and ideas. Do you think that'll lead to, I don't know, a blurring of the lines between them, like a merging of cultures and lifestyles as people move back and forth?
It's definitely possible. Or maybe we'll see those distinct personalities become even more pronounced as each city kind of carves out its own unique path. Who knows?
I guess only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, both Johannesburg and Cape Town are cities in constant evolution, which makes them exciting places to be, whether you're just visiting or thinking about putting down roots. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the final takeaway for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they weigh their options?
I think it really boils down to this. Which energy resonates with you more? The drive and ambition of Johannesburg, or the laid-back, nature-focused vibe of Cape Town? It's not about one being better than the other. It's about which one aligns better with your values and aspirations.
Absolutely. We've explored the practicalities, the personalities, even got a glimpse into the future of these two incredible cities. Now, it's up to you, dear listener, to take this information and use it to chart your own course. Whether you choose the energy of Johannesburg, the tranquility of Cape Town, or maybe a little bit of both, we hope this deep dive has helped you prepare for your South African adventure. Shalom, shalom.